Hi, this is Daniel Gruesso. I'm the product manager for the Create Source Code group here at GitLab. And today I'd like to share with you the kickoff for the GitLab release 13.9, which will be shipping out on February 22nd. So let's get right to it. The first thing that we're going to work on is related to code owners. As part of GitLab 13.9, you are now able to define optional code owner sections. So code owner sections are pretty great because they allow multiple people or multiple groups to look after common parts of the code. So now with 13.8, we're going to be able to mark those sections as optional if you want to, let's say, indicate who the code owner is for a particular part of the code, but you don't necessarily want to enforce approvals for that section of the code. So that's a great improvement in 13.8. In 13.9, we're going to build on top of that, and basically we're going to allow direct changes to those files that have to do with optional code owner sections. So for example, let's say that you define a section here named Go, and you've defined it as an optional section here with the character. So basically any changes to those sections are going to be allowed to be pushed um, without having to require an approval. That's a great improvement, and it will allow you to have a more inclusive strategy for files that you may not feel require a ton of approvals for example, documentation or small updates for your website and things like that are a great candidate for this. The second thing that we're going to work on also builds on code owners. So right now, when you create an approval rule, and let's say you don't have um, a requirement to approve by code owners, but you have defined code owner sections on your file. Today, when you create merge request approvals, you can define either users or groups that are able to approve changes for that merge request. So well, now what we were going to do as part of 13.9 is that you will be able to also define sections of your code owner files to be the approver for a particular merge request or as a permanent setting on your project. So that's going to be pretty great, as I said, for allowing multiple groups to look after parts of the code, but then for changes that you deem that are sensitive and you want them to be looked at by a particular section, you're going to be able to do that. So we're excited about that change. Moving on, we're going to work on a feature that is very popular with the community. It has a good number of upvotes, and it has to do with defining who is allowed to force push to a protected branch. So, for example, if you find yourself in a firefighting scenario where production is down and you have a group of SREs that are tasked with looking after your app, well, if they need to quickly push a fix, but let's say they're not a maintainer of the project, what they would have to do first is that they would have to go look for a maintainer who could, let's say, temporarily change the setting so people are allowed to push directly to the master branch or to the main branch, and then push the change and then revert the setting. So it's kind of time that could be better spent in getting your application back into a working state. So what we're going to do as part of 13.9 is you're going to be able to define as part of your protected branch settings which user or which groups are allowed to force push to the protected branch. So let's say in the example that I mentioned earlier, if I have a group of SREs or a particular user that I know it's on call or things like that, I'm going to be able to give that person the power to force push. So those firefighting scenarios become kind of easier to manage and handle. So very excited about that change. Something that has been here for a while. I see that it has now 166 upvotes. So very excited about that. And then the final thing that we're going to focus on has to do with forking. So today, when you fork a project, and let's say you want to compare your changes against the parent fork, well, you're not able to do that within the project. You can only compare branches that are basically part of your fork network. But if you want to compare your changes against the parent, Well, you're not able to do that today, but it's a great capability to contribute to projects that are not owned by you. And we see this happening a bunch in open source projects, but also large orgs that contribute back to projects outside of their org or to a sister org. So this is going to make that easier and allow you to compare those changes in an easier manner. So we're very excited about these changes. And as always, your feedback is very welcome. Please reach out if you have any, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you.